Welcome to the Front End Nerdery Podcast, a podcast about front end development and design. I'm your host, Todd Libby, and today we're picking up where we left off with part 2 of this very special inaugural episode of the podcast with my special first guest, Jeffrey Zeldman. Jeffrey, how are you today?
Hi, Todd. I'm good. It's Friday.
Yes.
I'm happy.
Yes, it is. So we left off talking about an event apart, and real quick, I wanted to just jump back in. That conference has been one that I've been going to for steadily for the past 5 years, and it's actually made me feel more comfortable putting myself out there and connecting with other people. So there's a spring conference coming up that I wanted to touch upon, if you would.
Yes, we're having another 3-day event, Spring Summit event apart. It has the short title, an event apart online together, Spring Summit 2021. But it's April 15th, April 17th through 19th. And there'll be 15 sessions, 15 speakers, plus some extra, like an after hours session on increasing your professional status. You know, that's not mandatory. It's not part of the program, but and that'll be taught by Sid Harrell, and it'll be basically getting to senior is what it's about, getting to senior UX from wherever you are. And it'll be a short talk followed by a long Q&A. So we're looking forward to it. It's these 15 speakers. We haven't published the roster yet. We're still working on it. We're still working on the lineup. We're already selling tickets, and we've already sold a ticket without announcing speakers, which is pretty remarkable. But our conference, if you haven't attended, you have attended many times, but for anyone listening, it's kind of a holistic web design conference, UX, front end, content, just everything to do with making a great website. We're even going to have something about SEO, which is a topic we avoided for a long time, but it looks like I'm hopeful. I don't want to name the speaker yet. I don't want to name anybody yet because I don't want to jinx anything. But I mean, we're hopeful that there will come a time where we can do in-person events again, and perhaps as early as next year. We sincerely hope so. But meantime, the Spring Summit online is going to be pretty fantastic. And the great thing about the online summits, so usually a couple things. One, you can watch it over and over again for a year. So, you know that thing where you're sitting in a conference and you're going, wow, I'm learning a lot, but I won't remember this. With the digital conference, you can just keep going back to it over and over and over again.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. All the videos are closed captioned, and the sessions are pre-recorded, so that we know that they're as perfect as they can be. And then the Q&A is live, and also live. The speakers usually in the room hanging out, so that they're on the there's a channel inside the platform, a discussion channel. So folks are talking and asking questions, and it's the weird experience of listening to somebody like Rachel Andrew talk, give a presentation, and while she's giving the presentation, people are asking, oh, did you mean such and such? And she's answering back, no, I meant so and so. So there's live interaction with the speaker while you're listening to their pre-recorded talk, and then there's live Q&A, either led by Eric Meyer or me. So it should be fun. It's 3 days, should be fun. And actually, all right, I'll do a sales pitch. Now this will come out too late. This comes out after January 1st, right?
Yes.
This podcast will come out after January. Okay, so never mind.
Yeah.
There's a special sale, but It'll be too late. It's before the end of the year sale. By the time
Do
this
you,
comes out, we should have a fully published schedule with
right.
topics and speakers.
Do you expect, other than the spring one, another online event after that? I mean, we're the way I'm looking at things, I'm hoping to get to an in-person conference by the end of the year, and that's even looking pretty grim as far as I can see.
Yeah, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves. I think we're we're looking at putting on 2 digital events in 2021, and the first is Spring Summit. We haven't figured out an exact time or anything for a fall summit, and the world could change again. If 2020 taught us anything, it's that the entire world can change.
Yeah.
Within the space of a day or weeks. So I don't want to say something now that might be false in January, but yeah, we expect to put on the second event in the fall digitally, and we'll see what else is possible.
I always have a great time, even more in person, of course, but the digital ones are a great time because, like you said, you have that piece of the platform where you can interact with people in real time and you can talk and chat. I mean, you and I were in the fall summit and we were talking about Last FM and radio.
Yeah.
So, it's those kinds of conversations, I think, that people can have about what the topic is, what's going on, the speaker in the chat as well, and ask questions of the speaker, in the chat too, that make it really fun considering the circumstances we're under. And it's as close as we're going to be to people, in the same room together. But I think that platform especially has been one that has been terrific. I've been on a few different platforms, but that platform that, an Event Apart has, it stands out in my mind. Not because I'm, I've always been a big fan of an Event Apart, but just for the whole, because you have that accessible piece, like you said, the videos are captioned, and it's just super. So I wanted to switch now to a book apart, because that's in its 10th year, if I'm not mistaken.
Or 11th. We might 11th? Have started in 2009. I think we started in 2009.
Okay.
So by the time this hits the airwaves, it'll be entering its 11th.
Okay.
It'll be entering its 12th, actually. Yeah.
So
I'm bad with her. No, seriously.
Oh, I have too. I've noticed you have a tie-in with authors from a book apart coinciding with an event apart. And what would you say makes a book apart such a success? Because I've known a lot of people that have asked me, do you know any books on this, that, or the other thing? And I always go right to, a book apart book. If there's one pertaining to that question.
Thank you. I think when we founded it, we felt like we had a handle on what topics were especially important for people like us, people who design digital experiences, who maybe are involved also in the coding of them, who maybe are involved also in the writing of them, or people who write websites and are involved in coding a bit, or people who code websites are involved in design. We sort of that hybrid audience, that kind of holistic audience of what I used to call people who make websites. When I first started A List Apart, that was our slogan, for people who make websites. It's harder now, but when we were starting, we had this feeling like we really knew from what we were interested in, what our friends were interested in, what the speakers at Event Apart, what people were writing about at A List Apart and in Smashing Magazine. We had a pretty good sense of, yeah, these topics are very important. And we, I didn't really want to be a publishing company because publishing is a very difficult business with paper thin, no pun intended, paper thin margins. Uh, you're lucky if you break even. It's a tough business, and so much stuff is online, and so much stuff is available free that it seemed. So we didn't want to replicate what's out there that's free. We didn't want to do what's out there that's free, like articles, again, at A List Apart, Smashing Magazine, um, other publications like that. We didn't want to replicate that. We wanted to expand on the most important topics, and we also didn't want to fill them out with fluff. One of the things I've experienced writing for a traditional publisher, a great publisher, that published really fine books, but those books had a set length. They had to be a certain length or they wouldn't get into the stores. If your book wasn't about 400 pages in the trade press, in the tech press, they didn't know, people in bookstores wouldn't buy it. It was just data they had. It wasn't like they weren't saying this is what it has to be for some, perfect reason. That we found that the ideal length of the book is 400, or every topic needs at least 400 pages and no more than 400. It wasn't that. It was just Barnes and Noble and Borders. If you remember those names, they were very powerful at the time. And they said, no, we're not going, there's a certain length of book that we have to publish. And we didn't want to be constrained by that. So we said, let's remove that constraint. Let's let people write the books exactly as long as they need to be. Constraints are good. And if you have to fill 400 pages and you're good at what you do, you'll fill it with value. But if, this is a fast moving industry and someone doesn't know what designing mobile first means, and they buy a book by Luke Wroblewski and they read it. We used to say you'd get on a plane in New York and land in Chicago, and by the time you were landed, you'd understand the topic. They were books designed to be read in about an hour or two. Something you'd read during a commute, maybe a work commute or a business trip, or instead of watching one TV show. Not a huge time commitment, and we thought that would allow the author to really focus in. What happens with books a lot of times is they get very general. So instead of writing about a particular topic about accessibility, to fill 400 pages, you have to do a book about everything about accessibility. And then, of course, you fall way short because you can't do everything about accessibility in 400 pages. So the books end up inflating and then sort of being general interest. And they waste some time, I used to call it the blues came up the Mississippi. It's like when you're a kid and your teacher says, okay, you got to write about Miles Davis. And you go, okay, Miles Davis. Well, he was a jazz musician. Well, jazz. Well, the blues. So you end up writing like the blues came up the Mississippi, and you're like 17 paragraphs in before you mention. And so we come to a young man named Miles Davis. Like, that's silly. Like, if you want to, I don't want to say we're like Wikipedia because we're not, and we don't have a neutral tone, but something focused like that. When I go to Wikipedia to read about Miles Davis, they will say jazz musician, influential, many periods of productivity, creativity, changed the direction of music, worked with these other giants. was a mentor to all these important jazz musicians. Like that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to make something that was focused, laser sharp, that you could read in about an hour and get back to your very busy work life. And we there was a belief that designers only wanted picture books that they didn't like to read. We knew that wasn't true. Um, there was also, we didn't want to do an academic book that was full of footnotes and discursion. It was basically, I don't know how color works on the web, and I know that my background didn't match on my client's monitor, even though my background and my image matched perfectly on my monitor. I don't know why that happened. I don't know what other users are seeing. I want to make a website where backgrounds match, and what should I be doing? Should I be using these color settings in Photoshop? What should I do? So Craig Hockenberry wrote a book for us about that. And as time has gone on, we've gotten into what folks call softer topics like cognitive bias and content strategy. Those are not soft at all. Even how to be how to gain confidence as a speaker, right? Which is a book anyone can use, and also we're hoping that folks who are less represented, who are less likely to be invited to speak, will put themselves out there. I love that you just recently spoke. Um, it was at a word camp in
Yeah,
Philly,
it was Bar Camp Philly.
bar
Yeah.
camp in Philly. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, and
Yeah.
it's great that you're doing it. I think everyone should do it. And you might say, people. So I don't want to get sidetracked. That was just one book, but we have a whole bunch of books.
Mhm.
We've got over 20 main titles now, and then we have what we call briefs, which are even shorter books for even more laser focused topics, even more very specific considerations of specific topics. Um, so, for example, uh, the kinds of books that we publish, responsive web design was a book that we published. First,
Mhm.
we published Ethan Marcotte's brilliant article on a list apart. And then it was like, there's more to say, he said. So he had a book. And the book was great because it covered the thing in enough depth that you read it and you get it, but didn't pad it out with nonsense or talk about web design generally or best practices in UI design or all these other things that are important but don't belong in that book. So basically removing the padding. Like I have padding. Like look at me, I have padding, but I don't want the books to have padding. I want the books to
Mhm.
be very lean.
Yep.
So that's what we do. We write,
Yep.
and I think they're successful because they respect folks' time
Mhm.
and they get right to the point.
Yeah. Yeah, they do. Do you have a favorite?
I have many favorites, and I don't want to say more than that.
Okay. So, tying the conference and the books in, regarding the conference and regarding books, what do you look for in speakers and authors for the events and for the books?
That's a great question. We look for a strong point of view and originality of thought, not warming up things other people have said. There's nothing wrong with being a synthesizer of things other people have said. I've written that way. I know there are a lot of good writings where they basically um, take 20 best practices that are related and show how they relate to each other and kind of give you an intellectual framework for understanding those things. Nothing wrong with that at all.
Mm-hmm.
But we tend to publish books that are more focused and kind of unusual. We hope. And the same with the presentations at an event apart. We look for people with a point of view A perfect example is Erica Hall's Just Enough Research as a
Mm-hmm.
book. Not everything you need to know about research or how to do research, or and again, those are great books. There are some great rather there are some great books on those topics, but Just Enough Research is my boss doesn't believe in research. I don't have a budget for research. We don't have a research department, but I'd really like to know something about my customers before I design a product that might be wrong for them.
Yep.
But again, our culture is we don't do research. Our
Right.
culture is, let's say, you know, break it and build it and break it. Some work fast and break things. Work fast and break things is, Silicon Valley, it's
Mm-hmm.
Facebook, but maybe it's not. We'd like to at least have some idea why our customers actually use the product. So, just enough research is permission. It's a tool set. It's a way of thinking, and it allows. And so that's one of my favorite A Book Apart books, but it's also an exemplar of a Book Apart book. It's not the whole big broad spectrum of this giant wonderful topic. It's how can this is not my job title. I'm not a researcher, but I want to incorporate research in my design practice. How do I do that? And how do I, if there's a culture that's antithetical to it, if there's a boss that's against it, how do I either persuade or do it under the radar, do it in a way that the boss goes, this is great. I love talking to our customers. I don't call it research, call it talking to our customer, whatever it is, whatever it is. So we look for a distinctive point of view, what I find with conferences and articles. So there's a kind of article, called a listicle. We everyone listening knows what that is,
Mm-hmm.
and those can be really useful, like 500 places to get free fonts. Right, that's great. Or back in the old days, 17 CSS layouts you can copy and paste because CSS layout was hard
Yep.
back in the day.
Yep.
Right. That stuff's great, but that's not an A Book Apart book, and that's not an event apart presentation. An event apart presentation is a very particular problem that's universal, that you recognize. Oh yeah, I come up against that all the time.
Mm-hmm.
um, and you want help to get better at it, and the person who's talking or writing is a practitioner like yourself, isn't an expert in quotes, isn't someone who gets $500,000 to talk to the CEO,
Yeah.
but is someone who does that job at a company, or does that job as a freelancer, or has had a lot of experience in that job. They're craftspeople like you. And by crafts, I don't mean it's always about pixels or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
There's It's about the craft of design, the craft of development, the craft of relation. Excuse me, client service relationship building. Sorry, I was drinking seltzer. It gives me little bubbly hiccups.
No, not a
Um,
problem.
yeah, so that's what we look for.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes people will have. We also look for things that are at an event apart. We look for topics that would be of interest to talented senior worker bees. What I mean is, we're not a so-called leadership conference. Those are great. I love leadership talks. There are some really good leadership conferences, but how to trim the fat from your team, or motivating your team to do faster sprints or whatever, those topics are not for an event apart. Most of the people who come to event apart are workers, are individual practitioners who do at least some hands-on work. They probably go to meetings too. They may well manage some other people, but they also do a fair amount of hands-on work. Um, that doesn't make them better than anyone else. It just makes them our audience,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so a topic. There are some amazing speakers who uh, talk to CEOs. Even when we've had folks early on in an event apart, we would have some really talented people who started product companies, like people who were like the person in the audience, but had started a company. We thought have one or two of them speak might be inspiring. Like, oh, I can get off the treadmill. I can get out of the rat race. Folks didn't like it. They're like, I'm not going to make a product. I like the rat race. I like my little hamster wheel. What I'm looking for is how to be better at my job, how to be the best front end developer my company ever hired, how to be the most humane designer, how to be the smartest, how to avoid the most traps. I want to be really good at what I do. I don't want to manage. What's that? The John Cusack movie where he holds the boombox over his head.
Oh, what's that? Say anything?
Say anything. And there's this whole scene where he says, "I don't want to." I'm going to mangle this terribly because I only watched it. But like, I don't want to. I don't want to sell anything. I don't want to buy anything. I don't want to buy anything for other people to sell. Like, it's something like that. But we're looking for people who make the stuff, who feel very committed to, who get real satisfaction out of starting with, a blank text file and ending up with a page, or starting with a blank sketch canvas and ending up with a design. So we look for people who have strong points of view and something really interesting and empowering and helpful to say that's of interest to those practitioners. And it really limits, it's very constraining. It limits who we can have speak, but it's also great because it enables us to curate the event so that it feels almost like when you watch a movie and many things happen in the story, but they're all connected somehow. We try to have a kind of narrative flow. So we look for people. Another thing is that they're good listeners. Early on in our conference, people started listening to each other's talks, which was unusual. And they started updating their own presentations to riff off things that have been said earlier. Like, earlier today, Jen told you how to do X, Y, and Z. Now I'm going to tell you how you can take that. And people started going, wow, this is amazing. You guys really figure it out in advance. And we were like, yes, we do. We don't, but we try to arrange. It's kind of like the way Eno would set up tape loops, and then they would make the music. You set up interesting things that you believe will collide off each other to make something even bigger. That's how we curate it. When we think about who we want to have speak, what they talk about, where they come during the day, what day they speak on, we try to make it so that there's a rhythm and a rhythm to the learning, a music to the learning.
Yep. And when I've gone to a conference or when I've read a book in past and present and probably future endeavors, I've always taken a piece of what a good example is, I believe it was 2018. I talked with Derek Featherstone about an issue I was having at the job I was at with accessibility and stakeholders not buying in. And he gave me great advice on how to handle that. And it worked. There was a little flip flop back and forth, but there's always that one takeaway that I have. That's that kind of like that gold nugget for the day, but the entire day of learning is just spectacular, and being able to talk to the speakers and meet a lot of people. So I suggest highly to people, have your company send you to an event apart. Well worth it, in my opinion.
Yeah, thank you. I like that suggestion. The thing that you're talking about, it's like Alfred Hitchcock's movies. They were entertaining all the way through, and there was a through line to the narrative. Most of them are very good. But there's always these set pieces that you remember, like Cary Grant in an expensive 3-piece suit running through a cornfield in Indiana, being strafed right by the machine gun on a plane that's supposed to be a crop dusting plane. You never forget that. And then crawling down Mount Rushmore with Eva Marie Saint. Or I just recently rewatched Saboteur, which is a really great movie all the way through, but the climax takes place on the torch of the Statue of Liberty, and the bad guy falls off, and the good guy is trying to save the bad guy's life, and he's hanging on to the torch. And it's like, yeah, it's like, I mean, it was made during World War II. It's over the top symbolism, but it's also visually just, you'll dream about it. Like you never forget that. So I think that's what you're talking about, these like takeaways, like some major takeaway where I liked everything, but like that's what I look for in a conference. I liked everything, but this one thing changed my work, and this one thing that I saw, this one thing that the person said changed my life in some way. I look for those things in my day-to-day life. Right, those things that inspire and recharge, and so we really want those in the conference, and I'm glad they're there for you. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. The people that I've talked to at conferences have said the same thing. So it's a very impactful conference for sure. And I've had conversations well after a conference with people that are like, oh, I remember so-and-so was saying this, and I took this back to work with me, and we implemented this.
We know some
example.
Yes. And we keep discovering new ones. We keep looking for new ones. But that's it. The great speakers. That's in a way, there's no trick to it at all. Just like hire great speakers.
Yeah, exactly. So going away from all that, and we touched upon this in our first talk. Because we talk with young and older, I guess, people in the industry all the time, but more myself with the younger crowd. What piece of advice would you give somebody starting out their web journey these days to help them along the way? I've found, especially lately, the past year, a lot of people are changing careers, and they're always, they see me on Twitter somehow, or, in a community, and I get a DM saying, well, how did you do it? And I said, well, I just did it. What piece of advice would you give somebody starting out?
Well, for yourself, would you say that always keep learning is something that applies?
Absolutely.
I think no matter what stage of your career you're at, this isn't the kind of thing you take 4 years of college and then you're a master of it and you go off and do it, right? Of course, every profession, people keep learning, but by its nature, web design started, just digital design started so primitive. We've advanced so much, and we're advancing so quickly. You have to be open to learning. If you're not, it's not a good field for you. If you really want to be able to, like, if you hate, I'm not saying that you have to crack books or attend college, quite the opposite, but you have to be willing, however, to learn. And you also have to be somewhat self-motivated, because if you sit and wait for someone to explain it all to you, it's not going to happen. The people who understand the field are busy. I'm not saying people don't mentor, they do. A lot of people on the web love to pass their knowledge along. But, if you're sort of hoping that it's not the kind of field where someone comes in and says, here you go, here's all this stuff. There are books you can buy, there are conferences you can attend, there's websites you can read for free. There's lots of stuff out there. You can experiment and make stuff. You can join a little group and work with other people. I think in the beginning, probably having buddies, or at least one, I don't want to say study buddy, but just someone else that's also around the same place you are at. I think if you can get someone who's further along to talk to, and you can get someone who's at the same level as you that you can check in with, those two things can help with motivation and keep it from being too lonely.
Mm.
It's a very lonely pursuit. I, for reasons of my personality, the way I grew up, my childhood, my nature, probably my ancestors, whole bunch of reasons. I'm okay being isolated for parts of the day and just doing stuff myself and teaching myself. Not everybody is like that. If you're not a self learner, this may not be a great profession for you. So that's all to say up front. Like, know those things about yourself. If you're okay with, some people putting on headphones, listening to their music and losing themselves in code all day is heaven. And other
Mhm.
people, that's a nightmare. If it's a nightmare, you don't want to be in this field because I'm the pandemic has made a lot of people remote workers who didn't used to be, but web work was often remote work. Even if you were in an office, people would sit next to each other. They wouldn't talk to each other. They'd put their headphones on. They'd all listen to their own individual music. Maybe they go, you go to lunch. That'd be it. Like you go to lunch,
Yeah.
and at lunch they'd look at their phones, and then they'd go. But they'd, I think you need to be at least comfortable. Maybe isolation is the wrong word, but you need to be comfortable doing things on your own.
Mm.
You need to be motivated. And some folks aren't. Some folks really need structure, external structure. And there are probably way better fields for them. But if you can basically, if I say I'd like you to do something and you have 20 hours to do it, and I don't care when those 20 hours are, and if it takes you 25 hours, that's fine. If it takes you 12 hours, more power to you, right? I think it should take about 20 hours. And that sounds like a good gig to you. That sounds like, yeah, then this is a good field for you. That said, in terms of what you should learn, I mean, when I started and when you started, it was all being discovered. And we learned HTML. There wasn't anything else to learn. JavaScript wasn't invented, CSS wasn't invented.
Right.
We figured out how to do table layouts and use spacer GIFs and all this stuff. And we taught each other these ridiculous ideas, and it was fun.
Yep.
Now there's so much known, and there are so many languages and frameworks and tool sets. It's scary to me, and I've been doing this a long time. It's overwhelming to me. I think it's overwhelming to a lot of people. You mentioned people are leaving the field. I think some people are being driven out by being overwhelmed by all that stuff. And I think
Mm.
we don't have to be.
Right.
I think the basics are still, if you're the kind of developer who benefits from having this complex tool chain and that makes you more productive and you're comfortable learning those things, great. You can have that kind of career. If you're not, if you like starting in HTML and doing progressive enhancement and prototyping by writing HTML and CSS and JavaScript, great. If you are the kind of person who really just wants to wireframe and work with images and partner with someone who's good at the code, that's great too. There's a lot of different ways to do this. I would say I think everyone should have a basic understanding of HTML, what it is, why it exists, why why semantics matter, what HTML offers that almost no other technology does, which is this, it survives nuclear winter, right?
Yep.
It's just it's the under the hood thing that enables a cockroach of a device to survive in the future. If there's nothing but, bad phones, old phones, we can still communicate with HTML. Our websites could still work. Um, CSS, if you understand it as a layered design language and a design language for a medium where everything's a bit borderless and fluid, if you can get comfortable with that. And it's hard because the print world is reassuring. If I know that I'm going to have half the page on the left with a photo that's the exact height of the magazine and the other half to be a column of text, and I'm going to re-edit those words because I know what size they are until they fit neatly and there's no widows and there's no hyphenation, I could do that. I can make a masterpiece of that page in print. I could try to do that on the web, but the next person to look at it will see something different anyway. So it's a fool's errand. You have to be comfortable knowing that design is a recommendation, a suggestion, a series of suggestions that ultimately the user has some control and or quite a lot of control, or they have no control and they're going to see it differently from how you intended. You have to be comfortable with all that stuff. If you're not, there's all kinds of there's graphic design, there's book design, there's real world product design, like make chairs. That's great. If you really want to control every atom of the design, there's lots of places to apply that, and we need great designers there. But if you're comfortable with the idea that design can be a series of tubes, no, not a series of tubes, but a series of layered suggestions, um, or if you can try to wrap your brain around that, I'd say those are the main things. Uh, So learn the basics and don't worry so much about the other stuff. I know people who are brilliant and amazing front end developers who don't even use SAS. They just write CSS, and that's fine. And I know other people that swear by whatever system, and that's fine too. Um, don't let anyone make you feel bad. Don't let anyone make you feel less than. We all have imposter anxiety. I don't know anyone that doesn't. Only a psychopath doesn't have imposter anxiety.
Yeah.
Right? This field is so complicated and there's so much to know as a designer. You're like a doctor who thinks that they can cure every disease is a psychopath. They know that they're just children on the shore, standing at the seashore of knowledge with this deep ocean of things they don't know yet that they're hoping to gain. And we're the same way. We don't deal with life and death stuff so much, but although we can.
Yep.
Right.
So some quick questions. I don't know if you've got a hard stop. I don't. So
I have a soft stop.
Okay.
Go a little while longer.
Okay. So touching upon that, the advice that, given somebody that begins their journey, I know a lot of people have asked me this question, and I'll ask the same of you, is what about the web these days that it excites you and keeps you excited in what you do?
I love the freedom to publish whatever I want, and I love empowering other people to do the same. Right now I work at Automatic. We are the makers of WordPress.com and some other stuff. And I really love the idea of empowering other people to express themselves or form a group for their own protection or form a group to study their shared interests or to sell their stuff online, a kind of an open, it's open source. It's available to anyone. I like that the web is an empowering technology, and I like that the basics of it are still very basic, still very simple. The basics of making a website are you can learn in a day.
Yep.
Right. So that hasn't changed. I think the democratizing capabilities of the web, which we've only begun to tap into. It has a dark side, because for every nice, good person who wants to share their ideas, there's a criminal or a predator, or there's somebody with misinformation that they believe and want to share with everyone. So there's always that danger. But democracy is messy. Um, but I hate saying democracy is messy because that I've heard people use that as an excuse for all kinds of bad things. So
Right.
I'll put some quotes around that or some parentheses around that. But I think in general, giving the means of the web gives the means of production to anyone who wants to invest a little time to learn. And I love that. And if you don't want to learn, there are platforms and tools that let you go ahead and publish and sell your products anyway. And that's cool too,
Yep.
right? You can, um, if money, you know, for a little, sometimes free, there are free options. There are options that cost a little bit. There's basically, I think the web makes it possible to sell your music or share your book idea or tell your story. Um, and then there's publications like Medium. I like Medium. I think it gives people the veneer of a magazine to go ahead and self-publish. You can do that on your blog too. And I really like that. I love that. And I do that. But it's hard getting people to pay attention to your blog. So something like a magazine publication usually exposes you to more readers, and something like Medium is kind of ideally optimized for that. My daughter wrote an essay about her neurological difference from other people and how other people react to it. And I want her to publish it. I don't know if she's going to publish it on, I don't know where she's going to publish it yet, but she can go ahead and do that. And other people who will read that and go, oh, I feel that way too. Oh, I feel seen. I feel heard. Thank you. Or they'll go, I didn't know that. You know what I mean?
Yep.
There's so much that I was blind to years ago that I'm aware of now because people have the web to share their truth. And I think that's really important. I think there's a lot of perspectives you can hear from that. You know, they're not your neighbor. You're not going to hear it from the person next door because the person next door is socioeconomically a lot like you, maybe looks like you, buys groceries like you know what I mean?
Yep.
And with the web, you can get birthday greetings from somebody in Pakistan, and that's remarkable to me.
Yeah.
Right? That's amazing. So
Yep.
that turns me on every day. The feeling of connectedness. I think technology is also isolating us. It's a double-edged sword,
Yeah.
and that's something to be on guard about. But technology can unite us. Man, the pandemic has shown us. Like, imagine if we didn't have this now. Imagine if we were going through what they went through in 1918 and we didn't have a way to share information instantly, digitally, and get it into just about every home, every phone. So
Yeah.
I'm grateful for that, and that excites me.
Yep. Yep. So on that, you touch on a few things. The next question was going to be, if there were one thing you could change about the web that we know of today, what would that be and why?
One thing. I mean, the original idea for the web was more two-way. You could go to a website and modify it. Two-way that you wrote something and I wrote a response to it, you'd immediately know. Things like pingbacks. There's a lot of stuff that didn't really take off or hasn't taken off yet that kind of exists in a very rudimentary state but hasn't widely adopted, that I'd like to see some of that change. I think it would be amazing if I could not only share a page I've read, but share my annotations of it, which you could optionally look at or not. The way Google Docs works, or the way Medium works, where I highlight something. Imagine if everything on the web was like that, because originally it was supposed to be.
Yeah.
It could be really ugly and cluttered, and we'd certainly need tools to filter it out. I wouldn't want to go to a newspaper article and have it be, scribbled over by people who disagreed with the point of view expressed or something. But I think that would be good. If there were, I wish if I could go back with a magic wand and not make everything free, I might do that, because with the content being free, first there was advertising with its tracking and its intrusiveness, and then there there was selling of data. Once people figure it out, I can give this person this empowering technology for free, and all they do in return is I know everything about them, and I can sell it to everybody, from their government to a drug manufacturer to an underwear manufacturer. I can sell it to everybody, and everybody knows everything. Um, I wish there were more robust privacy tools. I feel like there are some out there, but but you have to be kind of an expert to use them right. And if everyone used them, the economy that powers the internet would fall apart, because so much of it is based on the selling of that data. So I wish if I could change something, I would change that. Again, I'm happy to work at Automatic, because our customers aren't our products are our products. We have free products that are very basic, and we have products that for a little money we charge a fee, and it's enough that we can support um, a lot of designers and developers, and
Yep.
we can give back to the open source community, and we don't have to spy on people, and we don't, and that's why I could take a job there. I like, and I don't want to be moralistic. I think there's great people working at all kinds of companies, and they don't have a choice a lot of times about their company, the spying, and they don't know how deeply the spying goes, or what kind of weird, dirty deals might be going on. But I
Yeah.
like going to Automatic. I liked knowing that's not going to be. There may be some other problems. Surely there are problems everywhere, but
Yeah.
this won't be one of them.
Right.
Like ethical quandary of, oh, we're sending information about people's children to a pedophile network. Like, no, that's not going to be an issue for me. Like, so
Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, it's those things that you mentioned that I've been looking at closely a lot lately, that with privacy and ads and the gathering of data, that I've been discussing a lot of that myself with people. So the last question I have is one that kind of ties in with the theme of the podcast for me, that I'm going to be asking everybody. So I will ask you what your favorite part of front end development you really like the most, and could be anything. And the way I put it is that you would, and goes along with the title of the of the podcast too, what you would nerd out over.
I mean, historically for me, it's been CSS.
Mm-hmm.
And I go back to 1996 when I saw a demonstration of CSS in IE3.
Mm-hmm.
And they had full screen poster layouts. And when I looked under the hood, the HTML was pretty minimal.
Yep.
I love the idea that you can fill something with color by typing 3 or 6 characters. right? I love the idea that you can make something plastic that rearranges itself. I think Ethan Marcotte's a genius. I think CSS Grid is genius. I am at this point much more of a listener than a talker, so I would nerd out by listening. That's one of the reasons I keep doing a list of parts, so I can keep up with it and learn about it and see all the wonderful, magical new things we can do. Um, and I like that we can do them with standards. I think, I mean, obviously, web standards is what I nerded out about historically. So there's the pleasure part of it. There's the responsibility part of it, which is HTML, and there's the pleasure part of it, which is CSS.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the difference between structure and visual, right? Between structure and aesthetics.
Yeah.
And I love that we have both.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, me too.
What's your favorite thing to nerd out about?
Lately, well, historically, it's also been CSS. Lately, I would say in the past few years, maybe 5 to 10, has been more accessibility.
Yes, good.
Just because seeing lived experiences with family members or friends,
Yes.
and just going to conferences. Matter of fact, that just sparked a memory where I was going to Denver in 2019, and I saw a piece of assistive technology I'd never seen before used by a blind young man. And I watched him work it like I would work a laptop myself. It was absolutely fascinating. So more accessibility lately, but historically CSS, because historically me manipulating something and being able to put it on the web and have some sort of, whether it was a word or whether it was a website or whether it was you know, some experiment like a code pen that I would do,
Right.
that always fascinated me from the beginning.
Me too. Me too.
Yeah.
Well, making stuff and having people look at it.
Yeah.
It's just.
Yeah. And
I mean, it goes back to like crayon drawings and showing them to mommy and daddy.
Yeah. 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 I will also add a list apart, which has been around since I can remember, has always been there as a sort of, I don't want to say a pocket reference guide, but it's always been, it's been a bookmark of mine since I can remember. That's always been a big source of help for me. And I've always, somebody asked a question. I said, hey, well, have you looked on a list apart? Because I'm sure there's an article on there about it. Long-time reader and a huge fan of that website.
Yeah.
So
amazing editors and brilliant writers.
Yeah.
And some really nice illustrators too. Some really fine illustrators.
Yes. Yep. Yep. Totally agree. Absolutely agree. So I'd like to close out the podcast with my guests letting people know what they have currently going on, where people can find you, if they have questions or anything like that. So the floor is yours.
Thank you. So I'm at Zeldman on Twitter, at ZELDMAN. And my personal site is zeldman.com. My publication is alistapart.com. The conference is anabetapart.com. And the books are bookapart.com. And all those things I do with other people. They're not all me. And one of my favorite things is making friends with the people I work with and making work with the people I'm friends with. So I'm always happy to hear from people. If you have a really specific, complex problem, I'm the wrong person to write to, only because I have a family and a demanding job and I'm busy. But if you just want to say hi, I welcome that. That's the best way is, again, at Zeldman on Twitter. I find it hard to imagine ever leaving Twitter at this point. They would have to do much worse than they've already done. And I would probably still find some rationalization because it's just a really perfect channel for reaching out, being reached out to. So yeah, and follow me there, and you'll know everything.
I actually go ahead.
Thank you, Todd.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you. I will add. I do want to add. I was looking for a second edition elements of content strategy book from A Book Apart, because I had all the other second edition books, and my semi OCD, I would stare at that bookshelf and go, that it was, sticking out like a sore thumb. They went, Cattell Ledoux, the CEO,
right?
They went above and beyond and got me a second edition book that ended up in my mail with, and I have the letter on my desk. I thought that was above and beyond.
A letter from Aaron Kassane?
No, a letter from Cattell. They searched for the book and they found the book, a second edition of Aaron Kassane's book, and they sent it to me, which I thought was just phenomenal. It made my day. So you got some great people around you.
Amazing, and we love our readers. So yeah.
So I just wanted to
having me on the show today.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you, listeners, for tuning in to the Front End Nerdery Podcast. I'll be back next month with a new guest, new topics, and conversation about front-end design, development, and more. If you would please rate this podcast on your podcast device of choice. I'm Todd Libby, and this has been the Front End Nerdery Podcast. Thanks, and I will see you next time.